So John Crist is back. And ba-da-ba-ba-ba, I'm not loving it. So this morning I woke up to John Crist's first real comedy video since his comeback, and out of all the things on God's green earth that he could have chosen to joke about, he decided to mock cancel culture, of all things. Now, I think this was in poor taste for multiple reasons, but the most important of those reasons is that it seems like he's learned nothing. By jumping straight into lamenting cancel culture, it appears that he views himself as the main victim of this entire fiasco, at least to some capacity. Now, if you've seen my videos on Lecrae and Jackie Hill Perry, you know that I can't stand cancel culture. I think it's toxic. But the thing is that holding Christian leaders accountable for their actions is not the same as cancel culture, especially when it comes to abusers. Believe it or not, I actually don't have a problem with him returning to comedy, but that's if and only if there's a genuine repentance. And this goes for all abusers with the platform. God has shown incredible mercy on me, and it would be a sin for me to not extend that same mercy onto others. But that being said, there are consequences for sin, and I have faced those consequences in my life when I sin, regardless of God's mercy on me. Nobody's entitled to a platform, and forgiveness doesn't mean letting people off the hook. Now, I know everybody's gonna be all up in my comments like, he apologized. Did he though? Did he? Let's take a look at said apology, shall we?
Let me say first and foremost, thank you for all the love and care and support that you guys have shown me. Has meant the world.
So first and foremost, thank you is not the same thing as first and foremost, I'm sorry. I know that seems like nitpicking, but honestly, he talked way more in this video about how thankful he was for everyone's support than about him being sorry. And that's a problem, because to me, it made this video seem like a PR stunt to get his fans back, more so than actually trying to reconcile what he did.
I was in a treatment facility for 4 months.
I would like to know what this treatment facility was and what it was exactly that they were treating him for, because I think that matters. He just kept talking about him having a problem, and he wouldn't name what that problem was. So if he wasn't getting treated for like abusing his power and manipulating women, then he's gonna come right back and do it again. I just wanna show you how he refers to what he did.
Based on decisions that I made in my personal life, choices I made in my personal life, that I made a lot of poor choices in my personal life.
No, John, this wasn't poor decisions in your personal life. And if I hear you say that one more time, I'm gonna lose it. These personal decisions had direct consequences on other people. And you need to acknowledge that. This next clip is literally the only time in this almost 5-minute apology that he even mentioned that this affected other people.
I've made a lot of decisions that hurt myself, that hurt other people, and that embarrassed myself and had consequences, and I can look you in the eye and own that.
Own what, John? What are you owning? Because I don't hear any owning up to what it is that you actually did. I hear you owning up to poor decisions in your personal life. It's very vague. Repentance involves specifically naming the sin. Like, that's like the core of repentance.
I had a problem and I needed to get some help. I think that's the simplest way to say it. And that's what I've been doing for the last 8 months, and that's what I'll continue to do, to put a priority on my own mental health. Working on my own mental health and my recovery and healing.
Real question, why do you keep making it about you? Continually bringing up your mental health and how you needed help and you needed recovery just seems weird to me. I'm not denying that this is probably very traumatic for your mental health. I'm not denying that. But the mental health of the victims is what should be prioritized right now. And it just seems to me that you're trying to get sympathy from the fan base so that they will welcome you back with open arms and feel bad about what happened to you, even though you're the one that caused it.
If I can look you in the eye and tell you that I'm part of the problem, that I could also be a part of the solution. And I think that's what I like to be. I've been doing that in my personal life and like to make that transition to continue to do that publicly.
I'm not sure how exactly complaining about cancel culture is being part of the solution, but okay. Now, I'm not trying to be too hard on John. There were a few things in this video that I thought were good that he said, but overall, it kind of seemed like he was trying to come back after having an alcohol problem or something. It seemed like a coming back video after a suicide attempt. What it did not seem like, however, is a true repentance of sin that hurt other people deeply. Now, you might be thinking, why the heck is this my business? And in most circumstances, I would agree with you. However, what John is trying to do through this video is get his public fan base back. So that makes it my business because he is essentially asking me to be a fan of his again. He wants something from us. And just like in a job interview, when the employer has a right to ask questions to figure out if it would be worth hiring that person, we also have the right to ask questions, because I don't want to sit idly by laughing at his videos while real people are suffering. This article from the Gospel Coalition lays out what true repentance looks like. And I've yet to see that from John. Obviously, I don't know his heart. I don't know what his intentions are. So if he genuinely is broken over what he did and makes things right with his victims, I am beyond happy to welcome him back as a comedian. I mean, I love a good redemption story. But so far, all of his apologies have reeked of apathy. I'm not here to judge John Crist's heart, but I am here to stand up for abuse victims, and letting yet another Christian influencer get away with manipulating and taking advantage of girls is not in the best interest of those victims. Honestly, my biggest issue isn't even with John, it's with all the Christians in his comment section congratulating him on his return as if he did nothing wrong. That is inexplicably damaging to victims of abuse. I've been through something similar to what these girls have experienced because of John, and it is one of the most painful things that a human being could go through. The gravity of which is almost impossible to fully understand until you've gone through it yourself. It's easy to blame the victims or to think that they're blowing it out of proportion, but the truth is that what John did to them is extremely destructive, and it needs to be addressed by name. This is not only extremely painful to John's victims, but also other victims of similar abuse, especially if they haven't yet gone public, because they are reading all of these dismissive victim-blaming comments and they realize they can never go forward with this because nobody's gonna care. We have an absolute epidemic among church leaders and Christian culture as a whole of totally just dismissing abuse, and that has devastating consequences on the countless abuse survivors in the family of God. I think a lot of people are confused, like, why do you guys have such a big bee in your bonnet about this? Like, why is it such a big deal? It's a big deal because this is about so much more than just John Crist. John Crist represents every single church leader who has sexually assaulted someone and gotten away with it because they have charisma. And that's why we're so upset about this. Abuse victims deserve so much better than for their abuser to be publicly lauded by the entirety of Christian culture, knowing full well that there are victims out there who are suffering. John is free to live his life, and I hope he has a good one, but there needs to be a criteria for Christian influencers. There are qualifications for the pastorate, and you shouldn't be holding that position if you're an abuser. That doesn't change God's love for you, but there are consequences for sin, and the same thing goes for being a public influencer. If you can't handle the fame without it getting to you, then you shouldn't have it. John's defenders seem to be all about grace and forgiveness, but I'm really curious about what their reaction would be if John were to come out as gay. Is this really about grace, or is this more about not taking sexual abuse seriously? I agree that we need to be forgiving people, but that does not cancel out holding sin accountable and protecting the abused. Now, I think a good way to end this video would be to read some things from his victim statements, because I think that speaks for itself. Now, just so you know, I have condensed these for the sake of time and just read the parts that are relevant to what I said in this video. This first statement is from Hannah. When I went on Twitter today and saw people talking about John Crist updating his profile picture, my stomach dropped. I immediately felt nauseous and anxious. I'm going to try to put into words why I felt that way. John manipulated and abused me for over a year. When I read what he did to many other women, the hurt only magnified. One of my greatest fears when all that happened was that he would disappear and then come back like nothing happened. That his apology was for appearances only. I can't explain the level of hurt I feel when I see other Christians praising his potential return. They claim that they're embracing forgiveness and grace, but it feels like they prefer a few laughs and entertainment over real restoration and repentance. I don't want any other women to experience what I and many others did. I'm still processing and working through what happened, and please believe me, I have and I'm continuing to forgive John. I can go months without thinking about him, and then all of a sudden I'll see or hear something that reminds me of what happened. I want his best. I truly desire his restoration, but please know that he has built up and lived a manipulative lifestyle for 7+ years. I confronted him on his actions, other women have as well, yet it wasn't until the story broke that he made an apology. What he said was vague and skirted around a lot of what others accused him of. Can you really recover from and change dangerous and manipulative patterns that you lived for years in a matter of a few months? Is moving back to the spotlight really the best for your recovery? I don't want John to be penniless and rejected from society, but get a regular job, bro. Or work behind the scenes. Why put yourself back in the same situation which got you into this mess? Why risk him hurting even more women? Is it worth it? Is a few jokes and laughs worth his spiritual recovery? Again, please know that I'm not some angry, bitter woman. This just all seems so unwise. The second statement is from Ashley. I was a victim of John Crist's predatory sexual, emotional, and mental abuse and manipulation. Never in my life has someone made me feel as small and worthless as John did. I never want another woman to feel the way he made me feel. It's dehumanizing and cruel. I deserved better. We all did. I'm proud of how far I've come. And this last statement is from Christina. There is a level of pain that is hard to describe when seeing a person you experienced hurt from become the face of a religious affiliation you are trying to find healing in. Churches, pastors, every Christian loved John. This is the pain I think a lot of the women have tried to describe. Fame and the church don't mix. It creates chaos, confusion, and a worship of humans no human will ever live up to. These women matter, and we as the Christian community need to start actually acting like they do. Thank you guys for listening. As you can see, this topic means a lot to me. Hope to see you soon in a video that's about something a lot less stupid. Bye.